Hi, guys, and welcome to the Global Football Group podcast. My name is Ben Cern, and I'm here to talk with Lee Harrison, former Southend United goalkeeping coach and previous football player for Barnet and Peterborough. Hi, Lee, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Ben. Really looking forward to it.
Hopefully, we can provide some valuable insights into everything.
No, I agree. Like I said, for me, it's always something that if it's a chance to learn something new, I was up for it. Yeah, it's probably where when we worked together, I used to bug you and annoy you with things. But for me, that was the only way that I learned.
Yeah, perfect. So to start with, obviously, you were a player for many, many years. You played at Football League level, non-league level. Tell us a bit about your playing career to start with.
So, yeah, I went in sort of the normal route through a youth team at Charlton and sort of had 5 years there. And that was really my first step into coaching in a really bizarre way. Alan Kirby was the manager and Steve Britt. And they had a sort of an academy over at Newham. So they used to drag me over there to take the keepers as a 20-year-old. So that was my sort of first sort of little coaching thing that I did. But what it did was they were still trying to get their coaching badges at the time. So every coaching badge they did, they dragged me along with that as well. So I was fortunate enough to get my full badge at 21 years old.
Yeah, see, that's quite young, isn't it? It's quite surprising. Yeah.
Which was young. So actually, and it wasn't in goalkeeping, it was in everything. So I had an interest in coaching full stop from that point onwards.
And is it something that when you were playing, did you know you were definitely going to go into coaching at the age of 21 afterwards, or?
You could never say that was definitely going to be your path. All I'll say is I was always interested in it then, and there wasn't the analysis back then. I think I joked with Chris Powell, I think, when I said the way we decided who we were marking from corners is we picked the programme up and looked at the team photo of the opposition and tried to work out who the tallest players were and decided it was marking. But I had that interest still. So that was always something before a game I'd try and look at. And if someone went and did a written report, I'd always be trying to pick it up and have a read of it. And that was as much analysis as we got on teams. The next thing you knew, it was like getting out on the pitch and trying to work it out.
Yeah.
So no, did I think I was going to be a coach? No, because I always wanted to be a player. But in the background, I was always doing the things that really I needed if I was going to be a coach.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So obviously you're quite young and you were doing your coaching badges. You were playing regularly. And you mentioned there about the program, picking up the program, and that's how you kind of did a lot of your analysis back then. So between that age and you coming up to the end of your career, how did you find the analysis had changed? Had it changed a lot? Were there little things being introduced or?
I think I was obviously at League One and League Two level playing. So even in my latter years at 34, 35, and I was still playing, it was still really getting a copy of a video or a DVD if you were lucky then. And maybe the manager sticking the video on the coach and trying to pause it with the lines going through it. Trying to find parts and meetings taking forever, trying to find the bits you need until sort of DVD came in.
Yeah.
And that was like the new modern wonder at the time. But you always then tried to get a copy of it to take home to have a watch. And some players were interested in that and some weren't. And I was one that was always interested in that. Kind of wanted to see not just how I played, but how maybe the back four and myself as a unit played, or could we have done that better? So I think probably at 34, 35 was the first real analysis is now stepping up and having debriefing meetings in front of the whole group with a manager, but not necessarily an analyst just there.
Yeah, and obviously, were there certain managers that were very, were very particular on showing you the video, and were there some that just still weren't interested in
I think there was a thing where I think managers only showed you the video when you got beat 3 and 4-0.
Right,
And
yeah,
then if you won the game, they weren't interested because it was like, well, we've won the game. So,
yeah,
but I think that's probably one of the biggest changes now. I think it was not always, but some managers now will look at, even though we've won, let's look at how we can still improve things and do that. And that's been a big thing and an important thing, because sometimes you win and that can paper over cracks that you
yeah,
should be looking at, but you don't look at for the next 3-4 weeks.
yeah,
So I think probably then going into what I was still playing at 40 and still sitting on the bench at 41, 42 for Wycombe Wanderers. I think Wycombe was my first real, Richard Dobson being the assistant manager there, was the first one who was really into analysis, in the fact that he got someone from a university to come and record the games, had them downloaded onto like a hard drive and get us all a copy that we could all sit and watch
yeah, nice.
on the way back on buses. So that was my first real, right, we're now analysing games properly.
Yeah.
Um, without decoding them and stuff like that. It was like we try and clip them ourselves and do them, which we weren't good at.
Yeah. So obviously you've now come to the end of your career and you've, like I say, you're now starting to find that the access to video has changed. When you first started your coaching career, did you jump, you obviously had a keen eye for the video. Is it something you jumped on straight away, or did you try and learn as much as you could about how to use the video?
I think video was just really just playing it back and trying to watch things, then writing the numbers down and finding it. The DVD made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Hard drive made it easier still.
Yeah.
And then probably then when I got to West Ham, I then thought, wow, this is a different world.
Yeah.
We had 8 analysts at the time, and they could drag down, move stuff, and it was kind of easy as a coach then. I
Yeah.
didn't have to do a lot, but I could say, right, I need this, this, and this, and they'd find it in an instant and it'd be done.
Yeah.
And that was like, these people are good. These people are brilliant for saving your time, knowing exactly how to do it, knowing how you work, because that was an important thing for me, because that relationship isn't just one where you ask someone what to do. I think and you might tell me different, Ben, but in the end, you know how I work.
Yeah.
And I think you'd say that at Southend, in the end, you knew what to send me.
Yeah.
Before I even asked you on a Thursday, it was like, right, I've sent you this, 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 and this. And
Yeah.
that relationship is so key. It's not just a job. It's a relationship between staff.
Yeah. And it's really interesting you move on to that topic, because obviously you work with lots of different people, but and as a manager, you need to have relationships with all the players in the squad, not just the starting 11,
Yeah,
with everyone. Whereas goalkeepers is very specialised to maybe 2, 3, 4 max, goalkeepers that you'd be working with day in, day out. So obviously having that relationship is key. You've gone into West Ham now and you've got access to all this analysis.
I think I found there that they were already way ahead of me.
Right.
In that way, I meant the analysis was done, the clips were done straight after a game, and you didn't have to wait till a Monday morning for the keeper to have seen it. They'd already had their clips sent to them on their phones, on their personal emails, so a lot of them had watched them back anyway. So then I got to watch them back, and so the next conversation you have on a Monday morning, you're not just going, let's have a look at this. You've already got the discussion points there, which is fantastic. It's then not a 2-hour process on a Monday morning of debriefing and going through the clips. You can already get to the points that you want to get to. So as a time-saving exercise, it was great. I could actually sit on my phone on a Sunday and probably annoy my other half with an iPad going through everything and knowing what was coming by Monday morning. So, yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah. So would you say that kind of the boom of analysts and the industry, that kind of suggests that maybe you had to keep up with what was going on around you as opposed to the analysts keeping up with the coaching?
100%, yeah. I think the analysts are, in a lot of ways, they're way ahead of the coaches. And we used to just go out and do the coaching and stuff like that. And now technology has moved forward so far in the last 10, 15 years that now you can pretty much do anything. So us as coaches have really got to engage with the analysts to find out, right, how can we make this better? Because they've actually probably got better ideas than we have as coaches now to do it. So it's been huge. It's been huge for me.
Yeah, good. So obviously we've had loads of different scenarios working together at Southend of when is best to analyse the opposition and when is best to review your performances. Also, there's a lot of outside factors that influence how much you give the players, isn't there? It's not just a religious. I mean, a lot of the academy systems, they go, yeah, pre-match this time at this place. You go post-match this time at this place. Everyone sit down, listen, and it almost becomes like a classroom exercise, like being back at school. Whereas obviously in scenarios that we've had in the lower leagues, it's very much of, like we touched on earlier, have we won the game? Is it appropriate to then go over the bad things because of the mentality, the mental effect it could have on a player potentially?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, not just that, it's like, have we won the game? We then come in on a Monday and we might be travelling to I don't know, Carlisle on a Tuesday night, and we're limited on the time that we then have to actually sit down on a Monday and debrief a game, start getting ready for the next game, and actually travel. And as you'll know, you can end up sometimes doing the analysis at a hotel 3 or 4 hours before a game. Because we actually don't know the team that we're going to put out for injuries and stuff like that. And we might not know what the opposition are going to put out.
Yeah.
So it's the biggest turnaround is probably that 48 hours where you go from a Saturday to a Tuesday night game. You might drop a couple of things in from the weekend about the game, but now you've got a different opposition to play on a Tuesday who are going to bring different problems to you. And it's how much you give from the last game and how much you're now going to try and input into the next game.
Yeah.
And actually just keep the goalkeeper focused on himself as well.
Yeah.
So it is a big juggling act, depending on the game. And I think you just learn that. It's not something that you end up just learning it on the job and knowing what's right at the right times. And I come back to relationships again.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I've sometimes spent hours watching the opposition doing all this work, coding it loads of things, and then the manager will come to me on a Monday morning and say, I don't want it. We've had a really good performance. We've done well. The balls are on a high. I don't want to then start picking holes. And as an analyst, you're like, oh my God. But you understand that it's for the greater good. And it's what the manager wants, and it's for the team, what he thinks is best for the team. So it's interesting. Obviously, you touched there on the goalkeeper and how you prepare them. What things in the opposition do you particularly look at when you're preparing your goalkeepers?
I think the obvious ones are set pieces. Penalties is obviously always in there. And I think, as I said, we found a way of actually taking the last 10 penalties and actually sending them onto a WhatsApp group so they can look at them on the way up. So that was definitely one thing. We were attacking play. How they generally do they put in lots of crosses? Are they looking to shoot from certain things? So we'll do that as well. And I think we even went down to the opposition goalkeeper's distribution. Where's he trying to put it? How's he trying to set up the attack? What's his distance like so we can get start positions off our goalkeeper? So it was like an absolute, it was a complete package really on what we're looking for in showing our goalkeeper. And sometimes we go back about 10 games to find things in the opposition that we go, right, hold it, well, what have they done when they've played against a 3? What have they done when they've played against a team that's like us? And we try and find opposition that we thought were familiar to us.
Yeah, and obviously one of the biggest things is the strikers and how they shoot and how they're scoring their goals and where they're shooting from and what foot they're shooting with, and all of them are really important for a goalkeeper as well, aren't they? I mean, I know I used to get the goalkeepers come to me and say, oh, what foot's the striker? Where's he scoring his goals? Where's he shooting from? I think we've me and you have done analysis on teams, and we found that they're always shooting from outside the box. So it's almost like, right, it's not necessarily up to the analyst, but it would be me and you had a discussion, we've spoken about it, you've then prepared it on a Friday that they're going to be shooting from outside the area.
Well, I set up my whole, sometimes like Mondays is generally a day after, the recovery day after game, we'll still train. Tuesday's a work day, but then come Thursday, my sessions are geared around what the opposition will do. It'd be bizarre if I've just totally ignored all the analysis and then we're going to play Plymouth, say, and all they do is shoot from 25 yards. And then all I do is work on all week is reaction saves from 6. So I set the majority of my drills up where it will finish with a shot through bodies from 20 yards, because that's what the goalkeeper's is going to face. And in the end, the goalkeepers trust that you're going to do that. And then when it comes around on a Saturday, they go, actually, I'm glad we did that this week, because that's really what's happened. Or they see the clips going into the game and they go, that's why we've been doing that. And they get the whole buy-in then of why you're doing it.
Yeah. And obviously, you've prepared the goalkeepers for the opposition. We're now going into like the live game, and obviously, I used to have a feed to you, didn't I, at Southend, that ran from what I was seeing up on the gantry to what you were listening to on the dugout. And obviously, you're speaking with the goalkeepers. You never actually really notice it, on the TV. But the goalkeepers will be sending signals to the goalkeeper, and goalkeeper coach will be talking to each other very subtly, but it's there. Is there anything that maybe the analyst has provided to you before at previous clubs and you've then relayed that message and it's worked, or maybe the opposite? Maybe it's information that's gone against you?
No, I think that's always been in general. Like, as I said, when we've done it, you've told me things where the space is on the pitch, because sometimes at a higher vantage point you see it. So it might be just something about switching sides on goal kicks. They're not doing certain things. Someone on that side hasn't won their first 3-4 headers, the right back, and you might relay that to me, and now I'm going, right, we need to get the goalkeeper to switch which side they're kicking to.
Right, yeah.
And that's a hint from me then to the pitch, and I've done that on various occasions. Or we're too deep, we're too high, various little things, and I can get that signal on. Or I might tell a substitute to have a jog down there and let him know.
Yeah.
So there's ways of getting the message on there. I don't know if there'll be a day where we actually microphone the keepers up like in American football, and we'll let them know.
Yeah.
I don't think there will, but it's a big link. It's a big link now from the gantry where you are to the dugout, and I have to be cute with the information that I give the manager at the time.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they want to hear everything, sometimes they don't want to know, and that's a key relationship. But no, as I said, countless times there's been things that has been spoken to me from up above, and I've got it onto the pitch to the goalkeeper to change things around, even if it's from a set piece.
Yeah, and obviously the biggest one at the moment, and when it happens, everyone seems to go crazy, and it's the penalty analysis for goalkeepers. There's little things where Sky have picked up that they had little initials on a water bottle or something, little indicators on a water bottle. So we've been doing that for years at Southend.
We have been doing that for years, and I've got a new one this time. But I can't tell you what it is yet.
So obviously, like, there's little bits of information like that you're able to get onto the pitch as well, even if it's through a water bottle or stuff like that. And all the penalty analysis is sent to the goalkeeper beforehand, so they kind of have an indication. But the stuff on the water bottles is just to give them little reminders. As
exactly, like it might be a random one that just comes when you get 7-8 penalties in. You to remember who actually is now taking the penalties, and it's just something on there. And I think sometimes it's more of a psychological thing for the striker, that they know that the keeper's got half an idea where they're going.
Yeah.
So it becomes almost like a double bluff sometimes. But as I said, that's how far analysis has come and how far we can go back on penalties, to where I thought I took it quite away, but I think you took it further when you showed me when penalties were being taken that were pressure penalties.
Yeah.
So what the score was in the game when a person took a penalty, what time in the game the penalty was, that makes a difference as to where they take it. which
Yeah,
I thought was incredible, was huge.
yeah,
This is where analysis is going to another level.
yeah. Because it's interesting. You might get some strikers that, like I say, that it's that pressure moment. It's to go 1-0 up, or it's to equalise, or it's to, to win a game or something like that. And it's in the last 5-10 minutes of a game. Do they have? Are they going to go as high risk as what they normally would? And it's just interesting. Like I say, we've got access now to so much data that you can go back and find out if there's not just a common trend in the way you're going, but a common trend in the psychological aspect as well. So yeah,
Yeah, if
really interesting.
striker's taken a penalty 3 times in the last minute, and he's gone the same way every time, and it's been to get an equaliser or win the game, I'm going to use that.
Yeah,
And actually, the striker might not remember that
yeah, exactly, because you've
because
delved
they don't,
deeper.
you know, they might just go carefree at the penalty. And actually, now we've got that information.
Yeah,
We actually do it even off their run up. You can
yeah,
tell off their run up sometimes if they've got a certain place they stand to open up, or so. No, we have a look at absolutely everything, whether people shoot under the wall or not. So
yeah,
are we going to jump in the wall? Are we going to do that? So the information is there. It's just how much you want to actually put into it to
yeah,
find those fine details. And the fine details are huge sometimes. They define the games.
yeah. And it's interesting now that obviously you've got all that information live. We're going into like the post match now. So the game's finished. Are you speaking to the goalkeeper straight after a game about what's happened, or do you let it breathe, do you let it relax and sink in and give them time to reflect themselves?
I
Or
think that it really depends on the goalkeeper. And I remember we played Burton last year, and there was a free kick that they took. They bent it over the wall, and I thought Bish might have been able to save it, Nathan Bishop. But before I could even get to the analysis, he'd actually found the clip on his phone somewhere, freeze framed it, and actually brought it to me before we'd even got that far. So he was one that he had to see it and he wanted to do it. And if we were on the bus, he wanted to look at it.
yeah,
Um, some of them are a little bit different. They want to put you to bed for the day, and they'll look over it over the next day off, and then they'll deal with it on the next day coming in. So you're coming back to relationships and how the goalkeeper that you've got that time in the team deals with it the best. You
yeah,
know, some can deal with it straight after a game. Some need a day to get their head away from it and then have a look at it.
yeah. So is it a case of you'd sit down with a goalkeeper, have their individual clips done by the analyst, any data that you need, and just the literally pause, right, what's going on there, what's your thoughts? Is it more Q&A? Is it more direct? Is it,
Always Q&A, because otherwise I think you've got to understand where they're seeing it from, because they're actually out there on the pitch.
yeah,
And I'm always very careful of going, should have saved that, or that's his fault, and that's coming back to the game where I might, it's gone in on an angle that you can see better than me. And
yeah,
I'll go, Ben, can you see what's happened there? And you've gone, well, I think it might have got. So I'm very careful of going in there after a game and going, well, I think you should do this, this, and this. And then you watch it back on the video, or you watch it back and analyse from a different angle, and you go, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
yeah,
So it's made it better for us. I'm always very careful and go, it's fine, we'll look at it. They
yeah,
might, and then they'll tell me how they felt, and then we'll have the discussion afterwards. So it is Q&A if I need to get to the answer, but I really want to know how they saw it first, because
yeah.
then I might get to where I need to be quicker.
And you know, it's really, really interesting and fascinating for me, being a young analyst coming through, was the amount of intricate detail that you guys look for within the clips. Like, it's incredible. It could literally be like the fact that their set position is half a centimeter off where it should be, and that's the difference between saving it and not saving it. So I guess you guys have a lot more emphasis on the importance of having that video there, so you can slow it right down, you can see what the actual mechanics of their movements were in order to get to the save.
Yeah.
And it was really fascinating for me. Just I couldn't believe how much you slowed it down, how much you really looked at, right, where's his feet, where's his hands, where's his eyesight, where's the timing of the shot, and it was really interesting for me to learn that side of it. And obviously for you guys, that's just a common a common occurrence to really look at that fine detail.
I think for our position, everything is a fine. We are talking centimetres and stuff like that, because you move half a yard to one way, and all of a sudden you might be giving up a lot of the goal the other side, over covering. If your feet aren't in contact with the floor and the shot's being struck, you can't deal with it. So we are looking for those real fine margins, because that is the game to us as goalkeepers. So it is a little bit different from outfield ones.
Yeah,
They might just have to get in a general position. Are they a little bit too high? But we are dealing with fractions, and
yeah,
the fractions can make all the difference. So it's an unbelievable tool to look at for us, and piece together and slow down and caption and all that stuff. So it's probably why I annoyed you so much.
yeah. It was interesting because I used to always call, the night before or the morning, just saying, "Can you come out and film? Can you come out and film?" And it was like, and I understand now why clubs are taking on goalkeeper specific analysts, because they need a lot more attention, goalkeepers.
Yeah, and I mean, I used to make you climb fences and stick cameras up, and I didn't want cameras every day because I want the keepers to relax and be themselves as well. I'm not a big fan of, look, if I could take a camera out and do it myself and set it in positions, but then sometimes you're breaking the drill. I'm having to wander off, so we
Yeah,
attach them to mannequins and things like that.
yeah,
And got and did it. We found a way. Look, at the top end now, they have a pole and they have cameras that analysts sit inside and just do it all from in there. It's brilliant. But no, there were specific times and I go, right, there's something I really need to solve here. Can you come and help me? And I did annoy you. I used to go, right, I need you outside filming.
yeah,
And that's why it's such an important job. And I can see why the big clubs are now having, PK analysts specific to the job, because it's just different from the outfield stuff.
yeah. And obviously they're now what I'm finding is data collection companies are now really delving deep into goalkeeper specific data, because there isn't obviously you get your passes and the distributions and stuff like that, and your catches and your saves, and now they're really delving deeper into goalkeeper specific data. Can you see that being part of your process? Can you see you taking on more data sets, or is it something that you're not quite there yet with?
I mean, I think that goes with the bigger the club you're at. That happens. I mean, to say that Bournemouth have taken it on big time with, the GPS on a goalkeeper now. They can tell the power they're diving with and things like that. It's a whole new analysis side of it.
Yeah,
It goes in with the strength and conditioning, but they can tell how many dives do one way. This is where analysis is going with it.
yeah,
And look, not to do down analysis. You have to be careful how much analysis is in a game that's a very random game of football.
yeah,
But it's for me, it's important. It's definitely important to show back because people learn differently. And I think that's the biggest thing I've learned in the game, that I could tell someone something and they pick it up. But where years ago, that was all you had. But if someone stood it just with looking at it with their own eyes,
yeah,
sometimes this is where now you know which keeper needs what. And I go back to Nathan. I could explain it, and he'd look at me and go, "I don't know what you're on about."
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I could give him 2 or 3 clips, and bang, we're exactly where we need to be.
yeah,
So I knew he understood it. He understood it by looking at it. So brilliant,
so
brilliant. So it's what we as coaches need to understand is the level of analysis that particular keeper needs. And as they're getting younger and I'm getting older, the keepers are getting more used to technology, computers and stuff like that. There's a new breed coming through that are dealing with that better.
yeah. So like I think it's been a common topic that's come up every now and again, and it's all about relationships, isn't it? It's about knowing who you're working with, how they learn, and that's not just in goalkeepers, but that's also in your coaches,
Yeah.
how they learn and how they understand. Because if, like they say, there were some managers and some coaches that I could go and give a full in-depth stats report to, and they would take it on no problem, whereas there'd be some that like weren't interested at all in the data, but they were massive on the video. And I think this is now why it's becoming more and more common that a manager will take an analyst with them, to managers and places because of that relationship and because of how they work. And it's really interesting to see, what's next for the industry, because I feel like it's now going down the route of a lot of coaches are now picking up the analytical side. So they're learning how to do the coding, which then means I think analysts need to adapt and try and learn more about the coaching scene and the coaching side and understand where you guys are coming from and what you see in the game. And I mean, what some managers will see in certain footage will be completely different to what another manager needs. So again, it's all just about building up your understanding as much football as you can. And then when it comes to you going in a club, you can take that knowledge and that experience and adapt it to the person you're working with.
I think that I said, I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's not going to go away. It's a huge part of the game. You should never ignore every little detail that you can get that might give you an advantage. And I'll relay you back to a story that I think was the first time I thought, this is good. This needs to be done. I was at Barnet at the time in the third round of the FA Cup against Colchester United, and we were going to play on the Saturday afternoon. And about an hour and a half before kick-off, the rain poured down and the game was called off before the game kicked off. Both managers agreed to play the game on the Tuesday night, which you could do back then. In that time, Andy Hessenthaler knew Peter Taylor at Crystal Palace. And Peter Taylor managed to get a Prozone analysis sheet to Andy Hessenthaler for the Monday morning.
Yeah.
So by the time we trained on the Monday before the Tuesday game, we saw that their left back, every time he got the ball, passed the ball inside to the centre midfielder, a left central midfielder, every time he got it. So what we did on that morning, we worked on setting a trap where he played it and we tried to nick the ball off that central midfielder. And we won the game 2-1 and knocked a championship side out of the cup because of analysis, which we didn't have at the time. That's one small detail of knowing where one player was going to play was the difference between us winning and losing a cup tie. So I was in from that day forward and showed you how important one small detail was to win a game of football.
Yeah.
So it's just huge. You ignore it at your peril.
Yeah, no, good. I think that's a good story to end on, Lee. I really appreciate your time in speaking to us. This is going to be the first one we do, and I want to try and get more and more people from different backgrounds and how they've used analysis. I want to try and get young interns that are maybe volunteering at a club and how they're learning about it all. And I want to try and speak to as many experienced coaches and their processes to hopefully give a lot more people a lot more insight into what goes on actually behind the scenes. So, yeah, I really appreciate your time, Lee.
No, any time, Benji. As I said, I love it. You know that. And I'm looking forward to working with you again somewhere down the line. Because like I said, I know you're one of the best at it. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your kind words. Thank you very much, Lee. Take care.
Thank you.